So a lot of people actually been wanting me to make this video. I get a lot of emails and comments about it. And there's like I think a big misconception, or maybe people just don't know about it. But let's go over the infamous tank slap. I'll put up a video here of actually it happening to someone.
Oh shit.
Tank slap, Harley wobble, death wobble, dino wobble, whatever you want to call it. That's what we're going to go over today. Very important, so stay with me. But before we get into this video, if you guys have watched the previous two videos, I am actually going to be picking someone when I'm at Daytona Bike Rally. When I'm at the Chromeworks rig, I'm going to be picking someone to get that brand new Chromeworks 2x2 black chrome Eclipse exhaust, good for any bagger, a set of Zero 3D bag blades, and a pair of Indy Ridge boots and gloves. All you got to do is be subscribed. It is absolutely free, and I know if you're subscribed, so hit the subscribe button. Also have to like this video, and you also have to comment in this video, and that's going to be basically the case for any video from now until I actually choose someone when I'm at the Chromeworks rig down in Daytona. So let's get into this video. So a lot of people actually emailed me, a lot of people messaged me about making this video, and there's also, I think, a misconception as far as a tank slapper, the death wobble, the Harley wobble, whatever you did. There's a bunch of different names. So there's actually two things that happen to a Harley Davidson. You can get a tank slapper and your bars start shaking like crazy like this. And what happens is if you don't start to slow the bike down rather quickly, you can definitely lose control and wipe out. It has happened. I've seen it happen in person live, and I've also seen it happen many times, obviously on videos on YouTube and on social media. So let's go over that. Tank slapper, a lot of people call it also a death wobble. So there's a couple things that could make that happen. Number one is your tires could be in a defective state. So you definitely want to make sure that your tires are in good working order. Second thing is you want to make sure that there is no damage to your wheel. Make sure there's no dents in it. Make sure that it's not out of round. Make sure there's no damage on it. Third thing is make sure that the wheel and tire assembly is properly balanced. Those three things are super important for your motorcycle to run properly and not get any shaking, vibrations, and so forth. Also, if that front wheel assembly is out of balance, or if there's anything wrong with it, that energy could translate in through the forks, and that's where the whole front end is basically going to get that tank slap, death wobble motion. Now, a lot of people, like I said, they call it a tank slap. On metric bikes, it's usually just called a tank slap. In the Harley world, they like to call it a death wobble. But this is the two things that I wanted to talk about that happened to a Harley. One is the tank slap, or people say death wobble. But then another issue that Harleys tend to get, whether it's the Dyna or on your big bagger like this, and I'm sure you guys seen it. If you guys are behind someone on the highway going at a fairly good amount of speed, usually doesn't happen on straightaways, around turns, when you're going around the long sweeping turn and the road is not perfect, where the bike actually moves up and down, that's when the back ass end, and I'm sure you guys seen it, kind of starts swaying. And if it's happened to you, you could feel it. That energy starts translating into the whole bike, where the whole bike starts going like this. So I don't know exactly if the proper terminology for that particular motion is death wobble, or are people referring to a tank slapper as a death wobble. But I just told you guys what you need to do to make sure that you definitely do everything in your power to prevent that. Make sure that tire wheel assembly is in good working order. Make sure it is balanced. And that's why I highly recommend the ride-on fluid that I have on my bike now. Also had in Silverback for over 20,000 miles, because you could remove the weights and that fluid actually prevents a small leak or a flat on your tire, as well as balances the tire and wheel assembly perfectly. I'm telling you, I've had it on Silverback, I've had it on this bike now. It works beautifully. I have no weights on the bike, because think about it, if you're on the highway, those weights fall off, and they do come off. Your wheel and tire assembly is going to be automatically out of balance, and it's going to start shaking and wobbling. So take it from me, the ride-on works great. Give it a shot, because I've had this bike and Silverback, as you guys know, up to very high speeds, and it is silky smooth. It balances the wheel and tire perfectly, and you don't have to worry about any weights falling off and giving you that out of balance condition, and that's why I love the product. So now, like I said, the second thing is, it happens on the Dynas, it really happens a lot on the baggers, is that back end, it sways. So with that, we're going to be talking about suspension, because that's the culprit 9 times out of 10. If you guys don't know, I have a fully adjustable GP cartridges +2 in the front. So they were actually sprung to my weight. The stock Harley Davidson shocks in the front, there is 0 adjustment on it. It's single valve. That's how they come from the factory. But on the GP cartridges, I could adjust preload. I could adjust rebound, dampening. I could adjust everything. So, but with that setup, when I purchased them from the company, they actually sprung the cartridges to my weight. They actually adjusted everything at the factory. All I had to do was put it in. Front suspension is absolutely beautiful. So now let's go to the back. If you guys are aware, if you guys ever tinkered with your bike, on the one side, if you haven't, on the one side of a stock Road Glide, Street Glide, or Road King, your stock suspension has a turn knob on one side behind the cover here where you could adjust preload. If you guys have ever seen, the one shock that has the preload adjustment is almost twice as big as the other side, because the one side acts as the preload, and that's the only side that works the preload, whereas the other side is only a shock absorber. There is 0 adjustment other than the one side with preload. 0 adjustment, no damping, no rebound, nothing. And that's why it's twice the thickness as the other side. So this is what happens when a stock Harley Davidson actually goes around the turn and the road is not smooth and you're loading down on those shock absorbers. The one side that has the preload adjustment actually is used to withstand the majority of the weight of the bike, whereas the other side is used primarily as a shock absorber. So technically, the side where the preload is much stiffer. So now, if you think about it, when your bike is loaded up and down, the swing arm is actually going to be tweaking like this. If one side is stiffer than the other, think about it. It makes absolute sense. It's going to tweak left to right. And that motion, tweaking that swing arm like that, is making the back end weeble wobble left and right like that. Now, when you put on a set of high performance shocks in the back where they have each one you're able to adjust preload and each one you're able to adjust rebound and dampening, that is a totally different ball game. Now, when you load the bike, that swing arm is going to stay true and straight, preventing that weeble wobble to the left and to the right. This is without a doubt 100%. 9 times out of 10, that is the issue. There could be a case, but not really on a new bike, where you're going to have, the other problem could be your swing arm bushings. That's why I highly recommend the Figurati Designs custom swing arm caps, because they prevent any dirt, debris, water from getting in there and corroding your swing arm bushings. But if you have an older bike, that's where it happens a lot and more to older bikes where your swing arm bushings are really corroded and really worn. If that swing arm is able to move too much left and right, could also give you that problem. But I see it happen on brand new bikes. If I take a brand new Harley off the showroom floor and go around the sweeping turn, that is going to happen. It always happens. The back end is kind of like this. If you guys know what I'm talking about, hit me up in the comments. But if you change your rear shocks to a high performance set of shocks and both are adjusted exactly the same and they're tuned properly, you will eliminate that problem 9 times out of 10. It does not happen to my bike. It did not happen to Silverback, but I know when I ride a bagger with stock rear suspension, it always has that 50, 60, 70 miles an hour around a long sweeping turn, and there goes the back end. I have many people mention as soon as they got a good set of shocks on the back, that was eliminated because they both work in unison, they both work at the same rates, they're both tuned exactly the same and properly. That swing arm stays straight and true, preventing you from going into that weeble wobble. As far as the front, I told you guys how to prevent that. As far as the steering stabilizer, I don't know if I would recommend that. I've also had a lot of people saying the same thing. Once they installed a good pair of shocks in the back, they no longer felt that kind of sway in the back. Also, when I ride behind somebody, I could almost immediately tell who has a stock suspension in the back and who doesn't. But my recommendation to you guys, if you guys are ever in a situation where you're getting a tank slapper type effect on your front end, try not to use the front brake. Start downshifting, start using that back brake to slow the motorcycle down as quickly as possible. All right, guys, so hopefully this information will help you. Again, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, hit me up in the comments. We'll see you guys on the next one. I have some pretty cool stuff coming up in the next couple days. Love you guys. Peace out.